Mahigit isang buwan mula nang manalasa ang bagyong Yolanda sa ating bansa ay humigit kumulang 6,000 na ang kumpirmadong patay at mahigit 1,000 pa rin ang nawawala. Gayunman, hindi po lingid sa ating lahat ang pagbuhos ng suporta mula sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo. At ang suportang ito ang patuloy na nagbibigay lakas sa ating mga kababayang nasalanta ng bagyong Yolanda. Isang magandang araw, Pilipinas. Ako po si Cathy San Gabriel, nag-uulat live mula sa Bulwagang Apolinario, Mabini, mula sa Department of Foreign Affairs para ibigay sa inyo ng live ang briefing ng Philippine Development Partners on Reconstruction Assistance on Yolanda. Sa laki po ng pinsalang na idulot ng Super Typhoon ay nakapanlulumong isipin kung papaano maibabalik sa dati ang buhay ng mga taong naapektuhan nito. Ang pagkasira ng mga tahanan, paaralan, negosyo, pati na ang kuryente ay hindi madaling maibabalik sa normal. Kaya't puspusan po ngayon ang pagpaplano ng ating pamahalaan para muling ibangon ang mga apektadong residente. Kaantabay na rin ang partners ng ating bansa. At bago po natin talakayin ang reconstruction ng mga karagdagang impormasyon patungkol sa reconstruction, ay kanina po ay nakapanayam natin ang Ambassador to London, si Ambassador Manalo, kaya panuurin po natin ang ating naging panayam. Ambassador, your reaction to the international community's pledge to see us through from the short-term to the long-term rehabilitation efforts?
Well, it's certainly, from my perspective, really amazing at the way the support of the international community has come through, especially with respect to the typhoon. This has been a reaction which has really been worldwide, and I think you can see from today's meeting that the international community is committed to help the Philippines rehabilitate and undertake our reconstruction and rehabilitation programs.
But they have also expressed some concerns with regards to the need to revise some laws and building and zoning codes, and of course to revise the bureaucratic processes. Ano po ang reaksyon natin?
Well, as you could see, of course, countries would like to know how things will be done if they provide assistance. But I think from today's replies, it was quite clear that the government is quite prepared to address any of these concerns by making the necessary changes, if necessary, and at the same time to institute coordination, as was mentioned here. I think that will be the key, how to coordinate all of the offers of help and assistance and make sure that they go to the right place. And I think the government has that in mind and certainly will undertake whatever necessary changes have to be made. So the government is fully prepared to answer their concerns.
Prior to this, sir, the government has laid out its plans for reconstruction. Ano po yung reaction nyo? Are these plans doable within a certain period of time that they have expressed?
Yes, I think they are doable, and I think certainly with the necessary coordination and help from our own resources, and also whatever help is needed from the community, these are certainly doable, and certainly something that we can look forward to be implemented within the stated time.
Ambassador, thank you for your time. Yan po ating naging panayam kanina lamang sa Ambassador to the UK, Ambassador Enrique Manalo, at kanya nga pong inihayag ang pasasalamat sa suporta ng international community sa efforts ng ating pamahalaan tungo sa reconstruction and rehabilitation sa mga lugar na lubhang naapektuhan ng bagyong Yolanda. Inaasahan po natin ang pagdating ni Pangulong Benigno S. Aquino III ilang sandali lamang, at nandito rin po si Foreign Affairs Secretary Albert Del Rosario, na siya ring chairman ng YRRP o Yellow Ribbon Reintegration Program. Makikita rin po natin ang Assistant Secretary ng Department of Foreign Affairs na si Jesus Domingo. At nandito rin po si Finance Secretary Cesar Purisima, DSWD Secretary Dinky Soliman, ang Secretary po ng ang tinatawag na Rehabilitation Czar, Secretary Panfilo Lacson, ang Secretary po ng NEDA na si Secretary Arsenio Balisacan ay nandito rin po sa okasyon na ito. Siyempre nandito rin po ang kinatawan ng iba't ibang mga bansa na naghayag ng kanilang suporta tungo sa rehabilitation ng mga lugar na sinalanta ng bagyong Yolanda. Sisimulan po ang programa ngayon sa pagbibigay ng opening remarks ni Foreign Affairs Secretary Albert Del Rosario, at susundan ito ng Recovery and Reconstruction Plan Update. Kasunod po nito ay magkakaroon din ng isang open forum. Matapos niyan ay magbibigay o maghahayag ng kanyang talumpati ang Pangulong Aquino. Ang pagpupulong po na ito ay inaasahang daduluhan ng mga international organizations, ambassadors at mga heads ng iba't ibang mga ahensya. Nasa 25 ang development partners ng Pilipinas na binubuo ng iba't ibang bansa, multilateral organizations at mga aid agencies. At noong November 18 po ay nagdaos ang ating pamahalaan ng pagpupulong kung saan naroon ang mga development partners at doon po nag-outline sila ng initial Yolanda Recovery and Rehabilitation Plan. Yan pong nakikita nyo sa inyong mga television screens. Yan po yung sinasabi kong naging pagpupulong noong November 18 kung saan inumpisahan po agad ang pagpaplano para sa reconstruction and rehabilitation dahil nga po sa laki ng pinsalang na idulot ng bagyong Yolanda. Ayon po sa Malacanang, ating bansa ay nangangailangan ng 130 billion pesos para sa patuloy na relief operations at rehabilitation sa mga typhoon-affected areas. As of December 11 ay nakatanggap na po ang ating bansa ng mahigit 22 billion worth ng cash and in-kind donation. Mula po yan sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo. Makikita po ang updates ng mga donasyon sa binuong information portal for International Calamity Aid and Assistance na tinatawag na FAITH o Foreign Aid Transparency Hub. At makikita rin po doon sa FAITH ang mga impormasyon tungkol sa donasyon mula sa Commission on Filipino Overseas at Lingkod sa Kapwa Pilipino Program o LINCAPIL. Ayon po kay Rehabilitation Czar Panfilo Lacson, pumirma ang top 30 corporations sa bansa para tulungang ating pamahalaan sa rehabilitasyon ng mga sinalantang bayan at munisipalidad ng bagyong Yolanda. Sinabi rin niya na magsisimula ang rehabilitasyon sa Pebrero ng susunod na taon. Samantala, para po masigurado ang pamamahagi ng mga relief goods sa mga nasalanta ng bagyo ay sinabi ni DSWD Secretary Dinky Soliman na patuloy silang magtatrabaho kahit na holiday at Kapaskuhan po at Bagong Taon. As of December 16, 273,782 displaced families na po ang natulungan sa rehiyon. Isa pa sa mga naipaabot na tulong ng gobyerno sa pamamagitan po ng Department of Social Welfare and Development ay ang pamimigay ng mga galvanized iron sheets na magagamit sa muling pagtatayo ng kanilang mga bahay. At inanunsyo na po ang pagdating dito sa Department of Foreign Affairs dito sa Bulwagang Apolinario Mabini ng Pangulong Aquino. Siya po ay kasama ni Foreign Affairs Secretary Albert Del Rosario at Finance Secretary Cesar Purisima. Inaasahan nga po ang pagbibigay ng kanyang talumpati ng Pangulong Aquino sa mahalagang okasyon na ito. Kanina bago dumating ang Pangulo ay nagkaroon na rin ng kanilang ilang mga pahayag ang mga ambassadors at representante ng iba't ibang bansa at kanilang sinabi na willing silang tumulong hanggang sa long-term development programs ng ating pamahalaan para maisaayos ang mga lugar na naapektuhan ng bagyong Yolanda. Mapapanood niyo po kami live via streaming sa www.rtvm.gov.ph. At panoorin po natin ang programa, ang Briefing for Philippine Development Partners on Reconstruction Assistance on Yolanda.
Please be seated. Welcome to the briefing for Philippine Development Partners on Reconstruction Assistance on Yolanda. May we call on the Secretary of the Department of Foreign Affairs and Chair of the Cabinet Working Group on Resource Generation and Allocation, the Honorable Albert Del Rosario, to introduce our guest of honor and speaker.
Ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, Benigno S. Aquino III.
Thank you. Morning. Please sit down. Secretary Albert Rosario, Excellencies of the Diplomatic Corps, Secretary Cesar Purisima, Babe Singson, Nico Sliman, Moni Menes, Butchabad, R.C. Palasican, San Nicoloma, and of course the man of the hour, Secretary Piglacson, Commissioner Lucille Sering, National Treasurer Lea De Leon, Development Partners, fellow workers in government, ladies and gentlemen, mga minamahal kong kababayan, good morning. Allow me to thank you once again for being one with the Filipino people in this time of need. From the days immediately following Typhoon Haiyan or Yolanda to this day, as we take on the task of rebuilding. Not just our country, but the entire world came together for Filipinos affected by Yolanda. From the preschooler in Japan who donated his savings to the farmers in Haiti who raised money for their Filipino counterparts. We are deeply humbled and thankful for this outpouring of assistance. It is because of Yolanda that we are now at this point, that we are gathered here today. In recent years, storms of unprecedented size and strength, of growing intensity, have seemingly become the norm. And Yolanda is only the latest. By now, you all know that Yolanda is considered the strongest storm to make landfall in recorded history. And this is clear in the number of casualties in the families who were affected, and in the vast damage it did to the Visayas region. Your help is all the more necessary today because in confronting the escalating effects of climate change, the resources of countries like the Philippines will be strained to the limit. Let me assure you, we know that we cannot allow ourselves to be trapped in a vicious cycle of destruction and reconstruction. We know that it is more efficient to prioritize resilience now rather than to keep rebuilding. This is why we are going to build back better. The task immediately before us lies in ensuring that the communities that rise again do so stronger, better, and more resilient than before. Every dollar of funding assistance will be used in as efficient and lasting a manner as possible. The result of this determination, the Reconstruction Assistance on Yolanda Plan, or RAY. It will not be easy. As shown by the earlier briefing, the damage Yolanda has wrought is extensive, with $12.9 billion in damage and losses. This is why I've appointed former Senator Panfilo Lacson as the Presidential Secretary for Rehabilitation and Recovery, to focus solely on the task at hand and see that our goals are met. This is also why recovery and reconstruction will be done in cumulative, overlapping phases to meet immediate needs and to make the transition not just towards full normalcy, but to an improved state. We project that by the first quarter of next year, the need for humanitarian response will be filled. From now until December 2014, we will be preoccupied with critical immediate investments, such as the rebuilding and repair of infrastructure and the construction of temporary housing. Larger investments will be spread over multiple years and will hopefully be completed by 2017, if not earlier. RAY considers both the here and now and the future in a number of key areas. First, in terms of housing, as we are constructing bunkhouses to serve as temporary shelters for families, we are planning the construction of resilient permanent housing communities in safe zones. Second, infrastructure will not just be repaired or rebuilt, but will be bolstered, built to be stronger and able to withstand the onslaught of disasters. Third, to revive agriculture and fisheries, which employ a large part of our countrymen in the Visayas, government will be there every step of the way, from restoring the viability of farmlands to rebuilding or replacing assets that the storm destroyed, to providing inputs to restart farming and fishing. We will also train farmers and fishermen to give them new skills, all this towards greater productivity and income diversification. Fourth, for livelihood and business cash for work programs, the opening of lines of credit and mechanisms for financing and support for MSMEs will be made available to help Filipinos recover, while we work with private partners to attract investments in affected areas and build a more inclusive local economy. Fifth, government will ensure that the delivery of health, education, and other essential services remain constant in areas hit by Yolanda as we repair and rebuild affected public infrastructure. Through RAY, we are not just settling for the minimum. We do not want our countrymen merely to make do. We are taking this chance not just to rebuild what was destroyed, but again, more importantly, to build back better. Over and beyond this, I ask you to confront what I believe will be the rising challenge of our times, the increasing risks posed to all of us by global warming and climate change. In the aftermath of Yolanda, what we must build is a partnership born not only of necessity, but also of the realization that helping all those in need, all those who suffer, must be accompanied by reducing the risks that allow this need and this suffering to arise. Now, more than ever, we must work together to mitigate the abuse of the environment that has resulted and continues to result in tragedy, especially for the more vulnerable peoples of the world. There is indeed much left to do for all of us in the months and years ahead, but we are undaunted. We know that we can accomplish all that we have set out to do. The reasons for this confidence? First, because we know that we are not alone. We have the support of the thousands who work to alleviate the suffering of Yolanda's victims, and we have partners in your governments, organizations, and people. The second and most important reason can be found in the attitude of the thousands of volunteers and relief workers I saw, an attitude that states with the utmost certainty, our failure means the suffering of our fellow man, and therefore we cannot fail. Typhoon Yolanda would be a calamity in the truest sense of the word indeed, if it rendered us incapable of coming to the aid of those in need. If the enormity of the task ahead is enough to dissuade us from doing all we can do to improve the plight of affected Filipinos, and to work with others to ensure that no other people need suffer through such a tragedy again. The weeks immediately following the typhoon showed that this is not the case. The response of so many, both here and abroad, made clear that hope, goodwill, and generosity are present. Above all, that there is no shortage of people who will work alongside us in this effort. These spur our determination to see Ray to completion. These fuel our drive to build back better, not just the towns and damaged infrastructure, but the very lives of those affected by Yolanda. These require us to be more proactive in our efforts to manage the effects of climate change, not just for today, but also for the future, producing a stronger, more resilient Philippines, and ultimately a stronger and more resilient world. Thank you once again for all your support, and I bid all of you a good day.
Thank you, Mr. President. That's the end of our program. We want to thank again our guest of honor, President Benigno S. Aquino III. We would like to express our appreciation for your presence. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, President Benigno S. Aquino III.
Yan po ang naging talumpati ng Pangulong Benigno S. Aquino III sa kasalukuyang nagaganap na briefing for Philippine Development Partners on Reconstruction Assistance on Yolanda. Sa kanyang naging talumpati, pinasalamatan ng Pangulo ang naging tulong ng international community sa muling pagbangon ng ating bansa. Ayon sa kanya, naramdaman ang tulong ng pambansang ng international community mula nung nanalasa ang bagyong Yolanda sa ating bansa mahigit isang buwan nang nakararaan, at magpasa hanggang ngayon na patuloy naman sa pagbangon ng ating mga kababayan na lubhang naapektuhan ng bagyong Yolanda. Siniguro ng Pangulo na ang bawat sentimo na ibibigay na tulong ay mapupunta sa pagtatayo ng mga istruktura na mas matibay at mas akma sa climate change. Hindi umano madali ayon sa Pangulo ang pagbangon sa mga sinalantang komunidad, kaya't nagpapasalamat siya sa tulong ng lahat ng partners ng ating pamahalaan. Ayon pa sa Pangulo, tinatayang matatapos lahat ang reconstruction efforts sa taong 2017. Layon umano ng pamahalaan hindi lamang ang rebuilding, ngunit to rebuild better structures. At hinikayat din ng Pangulo ang pribadong sektor na makiisa sa reconstruction efforts ng ating pamahalaan, pinahalagahan ng Pangulong Aquino ang kooperasyon ng lahat ng bansa para maibsa ng epekto ng climate change. Ang naganap umano na pananalasa ng bagyong Yolanda ay nagsilbing hamon tungo sa isang mas nagkakaisa at mas malakas na Pilipinas. At dyan po nagwawakas ang ating special coverage ng naging briefing ngayon sa Department of Foreign Affairs. Bago po kami tuluyang magpaalam, ay nais po naming pasalamatan ng lahat ng tumulong sa aming coverage, ang RTVM, PTV, Radyo ng Bayan at IBC. At patuloy pa rin po ang pagdagsa ng tulong mula sa iba't ibang bansa tungo sa pagbangon po ng ating mga kababayan na lubhang nasalanta ng Yolanda. Pero sa tuloy-tuloy na pagtulong at sa epektibong estratehiya ay maaaring maibangon muli ang mga bayang naapektuhan. Maswerte po tayo at marami nagpahatid ng iba't ibang klaseng tulong sa sama-samang pagtutulungan po ay sabay-sabay at tuluyan po tayong babangon. At dyan po nagwawakas ang aming special coverage ng briefing for Philippine Development Partners on Reconstruction Assistance on Yolanda. Ako po si Cathy San Gabriel at isang magandang araw, Pilipinas.